Hi, this is Kim Watson. Welcome to Weekly Outlook. Before I get on to the Outlook itself, just a reminder that tomorrow night, Wednesday, I will be doing a webinar on the £2,000 challenge. So that's at 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. So you can watch the webinar live using the link that's attached to this email. Or if you're looking at YouTube, it'll be on YouTube or wherever you're seeing it. Hopefully there'll be a link as well for the webinar. Okay, let's get on with the markets. Looking at the euro dollar first. And yesterday, well, last week, we completed, or I say completed, but continued the downside from a weekly aspect with that bearish engulfing we just saw Friday. Really was the main culprit for the sell-off, coming down, testing the trend line. Now we've already sort of broken that by stepping through it sideward. At the moment, we're seeing this bit of a rally as we run back towards the weekly pivot, which it's just done. It's, bad pun, but it's a pivotal area here. If it can break through here, it may just run back into the key moving averages, but there's little of significance. I'll just bring this into a bit more of support thereafter until we get down to the sort of key area of 1.05, maybe there was that other level that I mentioned on the updates at around about 105.33, somewhere in that region, 34, somewhere in that sort of area here, which was you see it's multiple tests and support previously. So somewhere around that area, if we don't see a continuation from where we are at the moment. So dailies, weeklies, it still looks bearish, but this could be a change of direction. So that's the euro dollar, the pound dollar. Now we've seen news out this morning. Let's just go to the weekly view first. And again, last week we ended up with this sort of downward bar, putting us back below that weekly 21. It's been flirting with it a lot. If we can break back up, maybe we can get away from this sort of range, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't sort of sit in some range between the one sort of 128 down to 1.2 area for some time to come. The pound tends to be in ranges for long periods. Okay, so looking at the dailies here, and well, we've already hit the weekly pivot. We're marginally above that as I speak. It was got some sort of support where it's sitting at the moment. It's really now whether it can continue pushing up. If it does, it may, if it can break through the daily 8, then again it becomes on for a retest of this descending trend line here. If it may just run up to that and then eventually back towards that daily 200 previous highs, maybe at that sort of level, or the 200 maybe at the level of the 200 at the previous highs when it gets there. Easy for me to say. Okay, dollar yen. Well, we've seen a bit of risk off, and this generally affects the yen in a sense, and it's still in this sort of descending channel at the moment, still sitting in that range, although from last 2 or 3 weeks have been pretty choppy sidewards realistically. And you look at where we're sitting here, you just see the last couple of months, it's just not really gone massively in any direction, but erring on the downside. It has the monthly pivot on the upside. If we was to see some sort of turnaround, would be quite a nice target at some point, but it's still on this sort of daily point. It's just sort of erring sidewards to down overall in this sort of bigger picture. Aussie dollar, not my favorite. Last week it continued its downside. It continued down yesterday. It's popped up a bit today, and we're seeing a bit more of a, well, actually yesterday it reversed a little bit. Still got an untouched weekly pivot above. If we see the other markets pushing up, perhaps this will come back to that sort of range. It's just bounced off its sort of 4-hourly or some 4-hourly levels that I'm just looking at. It's just not quite off a band play, but there's the potential for that to push up. So there's in one of those phases which could certainly change. Looking at the dollar yen, well, the dollar CAD. CAD's benefited from a stronger oil price, and we're seeing that this week. Last week it was just well, it's just pretty consolidated over the last month or so, and it's not the easiest pair to be trading for me, and it's sort of been in a very tight range, and I've for much of the time just left it. Maybe we can get back into a bit of a trend, which is when it starts getting into its trend moments, it's just a little bit easier. Now, there is arguably in the short term a bit more of a trend going on for 4 hourly time frame. It's sort of a bit more trendy, but target wise, if it keeps on selling off where there's the lows there, the 50 MA daily 50 coming up below there, so there is the possibility of it just if oil continues just to push. Let's just have a look at the oil price here. And as you can see, the oil's been shoving up there, pulled back off this morning a little bit, sitting around about 53, but getting back towards that sort of 55 area. And well, there'll probably be a stack of stops above those sort of levels, and it'd be interesting to see if we get a bit of a short squeeze go on, unless some of those shorts have now come off on the basis of the risk of potential political stroke fighting in the Middle East. Okay, so that's where we're sitting there. So have a quick look at the S&Ps. Just going to go through to the futures chart here. If it's got the right one on yet. Let's just look at the weeklies and see where we are. Consolidation, it's last week, well, indecision there. It's a bit of a bull flag in this overall pattern on the weeklies. Come down to the dailies. Well, it's just chopping sideways, isn't it? It's not really giving us a lot of guidance whatsoever, and this really shows what's happening through most of the forex markets and pairs in terms of the ranges have reduced. If you look at the average true range here, it's been pretty low for some time. It's picked up more recently, but it's just to pull that out of the way a little bit. It picked up a little bit more, but overall, when you're looking at this chart, this daily chart. It's quite range bound. It's not really given any clue to direction, and we could see some more continuation of that as we move forward through the month. There's not a lot of drivers. Now let me just move on and talk about the fundamentals out for this week. So this week, looking at the week ahead, now looking really towards tomorrow in terms of key news. We've got Carney speaking in the morning at 9 a.m. I see is addressing an international fintech conference in London. Whether that'll be a great mover, we'll see. But at 9:30 is a more important put of news out as we get the UK employment data coming out at 9:30. Again, average earnings index is the key figure that traders will be focusing on there. Moving through, Canadian data coming out 3 p.m. on Wednesday, it's UK time. Bank of Canada monetary policy, etc., all coming out at 3 p.m. So some potential volatility sitting there for the Canadian dollar pairs. And then crude oil inventories at 3:30. So press conference then at 4:15. So for Canadian again. So lots of potential movers sitting there through the afternoon, mainly surrounding the Canadian dollar there. Okay, moving into Thursday, we've got the Aussie employment report coming out at 2:30 a.m. and pretty much I'm looking through most of the morning. We've got the Bank of England credit conditions survey. I don't think that's going to be much of a mover, but you've got manufacturing sales and Canadian figure at 1:30. Some US normal stuff coming out, not anything significant on Thursday afternoon really. Let's say the only thing there, manufacturing sales for the Canadian may affect the Canadian dollar somewhat. Then later in the afternoon through the day, not much on really. And then on Friday, of course, we got the bank holiday, which affects most of Europe and Canada, US data coming out at 1:30, inflation data coming out there. Don't think there'll be too many people around to trade it. So that's pretty much the week ahead in terms of the fundamentals. So that's it for me. Hope you have a great one. Just remember, if you want to join me in the webinar on tomorrow evening, make sure you sign up. Bye for now.